Well, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us on the last edition of 2021. However, we all have agreed that we're all going to be back again in full force to start the new year. So make sure you keep it on your schedule and on your calendar to join us as we go into next year. And I do want to thank ABC Fitness Solutions again for sponsoring us throughout the entire year this year. They've been great partners of ours and very supportive of not only this show, but also the industry. So we appreciate them very, very much. And we've got a great list of topics, I think, today. And we're going to start off with Sara talking a little bit about what's going on with technology.
And we have a video we're going to show you first. I thought this was really important. I actually think it was I thought it more important than I think the guys thought. But the reason is I think what I've seen is a shift in all businesses now. We need to have the technology because we accelerated everything with technology in the past 2 years. So you've got to know your technology, you've got to know your customer, you've got to put cloud at the center. And this means that you guys are going to have to look at your businesses and think about hiring a developer. It's not just about a creative team or a marketing team or getting people in-house. You've got to think of, do I need a full-time developer? Because I've got all this information that I have to interface together. And if you don't do it, you're really going to lose your marketing edge. And it means pulling data from your CRM, from jot forms, from the internet, and holding it safely. So you've got to make that developer experience important. And you, as the owners, you've got to be the fastest learner on the block. You've got to stay in touch with what's going on. And you've got to watch your security, because if it's breached, if your security about your members get out there, not only can you get sued and that'll put you out of business, but it's also going to shut you down for days. And I don't know if that ever happened to you. So and that's horrible when it does happen, because people can't purchase, people can't log into your hybrid solutions, stuff like that. So you've got to collect this data, because a lot of us rely on our ability to predict what's going to happen next. We know who our members are, who our members were, who our potential clients are. And if we can better predict, we then can guide our marketing and hopefully guide into 2022 successfully.
So Bill, go ahead, Bill.
I would say, a lot of situations, we don't have an actual developer on our team, but we have a lot of sites, and that's where we rely on our partners, right? Partners like ABC, right? They have developers that integrate the tech stack to do all the things that you're talking about, because you're dead on, cloud-based systems, quality of data over quantity. And I would say not only learn fast, fail fast. Try things and learn what works and doesn't work quickly and get out. But this concept of developer, I think you're dead on, but it's not something that you necessarily have to hire a full-time developer just for yourself. You can find that in your partners and just make sure you have that function covered. Go ahead, Blair.
Well, there's a difference. Sara, you were talking a lot about data integration, which I think is critical for our industry, and why technology companies need to have really good APIs and learn to play nice with each other and get costs way down there so they're not passed on to club operators. I think a few things from this. Know your customer it's inexcusable to not know your customer, no matter the size of your organization. I don't care if you're B2B and retail or fitness. Everybody needs to know their customer. It's the technology companies that I think have to focus on, the developer piece. What club operators can do if they have data integration issues is they can outsource and hire somebody who's really good at writing those integrations. We have our company's really good at this. We don't hire out to do that, but we are really good at creating data integrations. I think that's a very big deal.
And you say, you also say, Blair, know your customer. You know, a lot of us think we know our customer because we're there 9 to 5, or we're there, 3 to 10. You don't know all your customers unless you really look at your data. And I do agree that we can outsource this, but you've got to train your staff to stay aware because things shut down without you knowing it.
Yep.
And unless your front desk staff, your instructors, your clients are comfortable with sharing this information and finding a resource that you can afford for data integration is key. And at least finding even a developer or a resource that is part-time but consistent for you makes a difference.
I'll add this to that too. Once the data is integrated, it has to visually represent something to you because your brain is not going to process a bunch of cells on a spreadsheet. I think it's one of the biggest mistakes people make in trying to understand their data is looking at spreadsheet A, spreadsheet B, spreadsheet C. No, you look at what ABC is doing with Fitness BI and the different number of integrations they can do to create so that you can, look at a screen and understand your strategy a lot better. That's right. One of the key things is data visualization. Brent.
Yeah, and I would also say, and Bill, you touched on it, and so did you, Blair. You just used different language, but I like in the video that Sara put together, it said quality of numbers, not quantity of numbers. And Blair, with MXM, I used to have it in my club. Lots of people listening have MXM, and they do a fabulous job. There's more data there than I have ever had the chance to comb through, but it's what you do with it, right? What are you reading? What are you looking at? And then more importantly, what are your takeaways and what are you doing with that information? Don't be tracking all that information and never look at it. That's not doing anybody any good. And there's a lot of people that do that.
That's right. It's got to be actionable. That's why data visualization is so critical. I don't care how much you track and how many different spreadsheets you have. You're not going to process the subtleties of the complexity of how that data interacts with each other until you get it in really good data visualization. That's what BI is about.
And you need to review it monthly. We used to be able to review it quarterly or semi-annually, and that would be fine. Okay, but now you've got to do it monthly because you've got boosters out there, then you've got a new variant out there, then this club closes, then another YMC closes, then something. Who are your members? It's hopefully it's constantly changing because it's growing.
Yep.
Yeah, and monthly may not be enough on some of the key metrics.
Yeah,
okay, Bill, take us to the next one.
KPIs are daily in a lot of them, but looking at the overall system, Sara, I agree. So am I up?
Yep, you are, sir.
But we're going to talk about wellness trends. There's a trends article from a company called Better Up that I found very interesting. And it breaks down the 6 dimensions of wellness. And we know what they are, but I think that our industry is poised to have this bigger impact as we're all aware of. So those dimensions would be emotional, occupational / financial, physical, social, intellectual / mental, and spiritual. And so I'm not going to go through 22 trends, but we will provide the link. But some of the things jumped out for us to be honing in on and have on our radar. The touchless spa services, the hydro therapy, the cryotherapy, all those touchless, you can do touchless facials now. So the touchless stuff is important. Immunity is bigger than ever. People are focusing on optimizing their immune system, with regard to foods, functional foods. This immune aspect of what our product does is critical. We've been talking about mental fitness, mental health, mental wellness for a long time in these shows. The Brick Foundation, John Brick Foundation is doing a lot of work in that arena that we all support. But there's something else here with this mental wellness thing, and it's the acceptance that's now occurred with the population. People are more aware of it. They're more accepting of it. It's not something that people are necessarily being as embarrassed about or trying to hide it and keep it under wraps. So encouraging that mental well-being aspect openly in your facilities with your members and with your staff. We've all been through the virtual hangouts. We spent time on that, the outdoor importance. Sarah's going to like this because she was beating up on Brent about it earlier. There's this trend with cozy casual, chic. You're professional on the upper part of your body, and you're in your pajamas on the lower part of your body. Athletic wear. There's opportunities with branded apparel in our space. Gentler workouts. We've spent time on this. We scare people, gentler workouts, promoting the shorter workouts. Travel and relocation, we've seen a lot of. People have flexibility now. How do we make sure that we're aware of those trends with regard to our customer base? And then not losing sight of financial wellness. Our members and our staff, are still navigating, their own financial security, insecurity. And so, expanding our fitness offering to lifestyle skills, financial skills, retirement planning, all these other things, cooking classes, things that we don't normally automatically connect, but it's a different world. And if you're not focused on wellness with your radar, you're going to miss opportunities that your consumers are looking for.
Yeah.
I picked two things out of that list, Bill, and you touched on one, the gentler workouts. And I just want to share a personal experience with, I think, drove it home with me once again over the Thanksgiving holidays. So we had my wife's family in to visit with us, have a big Thanksgiving. They stayed 3 or 4 days through the weekend. And of course, we asked them to come and do the workout that we do typically upstairs. And we got a few to go and join us reluctantly that would say they're pretty active at home. And, a third of the way into the workout, they're like, oh, okay, I'm done, I'm out. And it just reminded me again that we just really need to be cognizant of people are intimidated to not just come to the gym, but to work out or work out in front of even friends and family. And for those of us on this call that are so used to being, highly fit and active, it's just a whole nother level for, more sedentary people. And we just need to be understanding of that and cater to that, I think. And we miss that mark a lot.
Yeah, I think, I think a strong message we should be sending is we understand that people get out of shape and develop bad habits incrementally, and you're going to reverse it incrementally. And we don't tend to do that. We tend to, project where they should be exercising, training, and how their food program should be 18 months from now and try to get them there on day one. And if we have any success at all in sort of penetrating that next group of people, we really got to get good at this incrementalism.
Right.
And it's interesting. It's affecting within our industry. We always do the research at the end of a conference. And I was shocked at what happened at the end of Dallas Mania. We just reviewed it, and HIIT training not only fell 1 drop, it fell 2 levels in our top 10. So HIIT is lower. Now that may be because this incremental training idea is catching on, or more people are coming back in the gym. Strength training went up. Strength training was #1, above functional training and above active aging. So I think I'm going to hammer in, pardon the pun, but I'm going to hammer in that people are going to go back to the gym to strength train, because you can't do it at home. Yeah, I mean, you can. What are you going to do? Lift your cat? You want to be able to lift something really heavy, not that heavy.
Yeah, a cat could be heavy. All right, thanks. Okay, lawsuits on the rise. This in particular, I'll start off with this, and I'm going to go directly at Sara on this. Gymshark, a lot of you might be familiar with Gymshark. It's an apparel company. You might see people wearing Gymshark clothing in your club. Well, the way that they have done a fabulous job on their marketing is through social media. And so they are being sued by Sony over sync, S-Y-N-C-H, synchronization rights. So there's certainly the music licensing rights that we all know about, BMI, ASCAP, CSAC, GMA, there's that stuff. But this is a different breed of cat here, the synchronization. And synchronization rights happen anytime music and audio and visual are synced up together. And it could be live, it could be recorded, but it's per song. And so to get the rights, you have to get rights per song. It's not like you're going someplace and getting an entire library of music. And the music companies will win these lawsuits. They'll either get settled out of court, but they'll win these. They're not going to lose any of these lawsuits. So one of my observations about why this is so important is because we all, during the pandemic, we did a lot more online, a lot more virtual. People are recording classes, and all of that is susceptible to synchronization rights, I believe. Am I right, Sara?
You are right. And the interesting thing is, during the pandemic, they loosened up. They let instructors just play the music. They let whatever club and was promoting their hybrid programs, their online programs, their on-demand programs, the live stream programs, let it kind of, glide by because they thought this pandemic was going to end. And now they want money for it. And synchronization is like, I don't want Madonna and Bruce Springsteen together or Gwen Stefani and Blake Shelton. Anyway, because Blake is mine. But it's that integration of songs together that they don't want to have happen. And synchronization rights, it'll cost you $150,000 per song that's integrated. Whereas if you just use music over the internet, you're paid, or use music that's unlicensed, it's like $3,500 a song. So synchronization was the way for them to make more money. But how this applies to the health club market is what's a little scary, because they also noted, and you found it, Blair, that they noted that influencers are also liable, and that's your instructors and that are taking little videos in your club, and maybe you give them free clothes, or maybe they're under a certain contract. So you got to be careful what you're doing as a club owner.
And a lot of people are using influencers more and more, and it doesn't matter if it's a short TikTok video. The other thing interesting about this too is, since it's all online, all digital, it used to be the BMI ASCAP, they would send somebody into your club as a guest. They would count the number of televisions and speakers. If they were BMI, they would send you a cease and desist and demand a lot of money. Well, we all kind of know that we got to pay those things. The prices have come down. It's gotten more reasonable. They're not walking into bricks and mortar anymore and spending that much manpower. They don't have to do it with it. Somebody sitting in Australia knows how to comb websites of fitness industry and Facebook, et cetera, and find this. Go ahead, Bill.
No, I just want to say it goes beyond just the music stuff. Lawsuits are on the rise. This is a good time to do a compliance audit on everything that you have exposure on. Your insurance, your compliance on your licensing, your labor laws, your labor law posters. I mean, everything. This is a great time for a compliance audit.
Yeah, and the other thing is, you can get legal music if you want to film something and post it. Power music, Yes Fitness music, Muscle Mixes music. We can throw it into the chat. And they used original artists. They're basically sound-alikes, and they don't use the original artists. They just kind of use a sound-alike, and then you're not violating anything.
Yeah, I want to add on to what Bill said, getting away from the music licensing, but just more general lawsuits. And Bill's right, lawsuits are up. Ken Renning with Renning Insurance, who provides club insurance to lots of people in the industry, I had as a guest on one of my shows recently. And he was talking about the rise in employment claims across the board. And the other thing he talked about, which would be good information for everybody, is property insurance. As we all know, everybody's property, not only your home, but also your business, has been rising over the recent years, particularly in the last couple of years. Maybe your insurance and the rate at which you're insuring has not kept up with that increase. So if your property were to be destroyed and you've only insured it at a property value you had, many years ago, you may need to have a look at that and update it so that you can really get the coverage you need.
Or frankly, your property value that it is now, because
Right.
We know that everything's gone wild, but also we know commercial property, probably the value has declined.
And the cost to replace it is also increased.
Yeah.
So critical to do that. Okay, Sarah, we're coming back to you. Online down and in person up, which is a new way to say that. I think it would have been maybe phrased differently a month or two ago.
made me so happy because I've felt like for the past 3 months in our shows, I'm always just like Debbie Downer or whatever, and I feel like things aren't coming back. And I do see that, well, it may not be that, and Blair, we were talking about this, it may not be that Peloton is losing money, because they definitely are still making money. These companies are just lowering their expectations. They're like Peloton, they lowered their subscriptions from 3.65 million to 3.45 million. Their expectations for growth has actually declined. Zoom is down, but like Chegg's online education, kids are sick of studying, online. That's dramatically gone down. Beachbody was down 29% in nutrition sales from 2020 to 2021, and down 16% as compared in 2019. So it's still up, but it's just not growing. It's so it's exciting.
Right. Well, yeah, people should not mistake a 60% drop in Peloton stock value as a lack of growth. There's growth there. 2020, this is right off of their SEC filing. You go to sec.gov, their third quarter report, September 30th. They had 77.8 million total workouts in the first 3 quarters of 20. They had 120.5 million workouts in the first 3 quarters of 21. Number of subscribers went up from 1.33 million to 2.49 million. But what's happening is the number that Sara gave you was their year-end projection. When they have to reel back that projection, that's when stock analysts say, wait a minute, I'm switching this from an absolute buy to either a hold or a sell. And what they did is they said, it's a sell, but it's growing. I do want to point this out too. I don't know if anybody saw this Time magazine article. So finish this sentence. America's going to the gym again. That's bad news for Peloton, but great news for, what do you think they said? Not gyms.
The customer.
They said great news for mental health. And then all they talked about was gyms. I loved it. And I'll make sure I put the link to this in there. But it talks about just how much people are going back to gyms, and some of the people they talked to that said, when I used to go to the gym before, I don't care to talk to anybody. I'm just in here to train. Now they're saying, wow, it's different. I love going in and talking to people now. So some of the attitudes in this article and the people that they spoke to, I think I'll make sure I put that in there.
Yeah, but
And that's really,
go ahead, Sara.
and that's really good. By the same token, we saw the projections for Peloton go down. F45, they increased from like 830 to 850 studios. Exponential Fitness increased their projections. So that's exciting, because that says that there's a trend and that there's the growth, the participation in the gyms have gone up as well. System-wide sales for F45 went up 33%. 60% in revenue went up for Exponential Fitness. 241% increase in revenue for Planet Fitness. I mean, this is great, because when one benefits, if I see one gym benefit, it's all of us. Small independent boutiques, large franchises.
I'll add this to that, because this is so much, the hybrid fitness model. How are we going to lean into the hybrid fitness model? Hybrid fitness has always been here. Hybrid fitness is as much analog as it is digital. I've had a power rack in my basement and and an elliptical and dumbbells, and hybrid fitness is just how much are they going to work out in your gym and how much are they going to do somewhere else. It's not always necessarily having something to do with this. Sometimes people might use that, but hybrid fitness, Brent has a great gym, and he was talking about, we went upstairs. I don't know if people caught that. He has a great gym in his house that's upstairs. That's a hybrid model. He trains there. Maybe he goes to the gym. It's always been here, and people are depending less and less on the digital side.
Yeah, great point, Blair, and a great lead-in for the next topic, which is IHRSA just recently released their media report for 2021. If you haven't seen it, there's a lot of good information in there. I'll show you just a few highlights here on the screen. So this is a page right out of CBI. You can see the charts there at the bottom, give you some of this data and information. We can also put this in the chat for you. But here's what I'd like to highlight first on this first screen, and that is that according to JP Morgan, who did some research around the number of days worth of expenses small businesses had in reserve, and by and large, that was only about 27 days. That's scary for an industry like ours, where 80% of the businesses are just what they researched, which was small businesses. You know, one of the things we do in Rex Roundtables on a really regular basis, and Bill and Blair are both involved in Rex Roundtables, is we share openly how much cash reserves we have on hand if needed. And we were doing that well before the pandemic came along, just to reinforce the need for that. So there's some good information there. And then at the bottom, just to show you a few other things, that shows 2 to 5 months. That's the average time most gyms were closed through the pandemic. Of course, as we know, if you were in California or perhaps New York or up there with Blair in Washington State, that was much longer. Some of them were closed. Blair, how long were your clubs closed in total? Like 9 months, I think.
9 months closed completely, 3 months at 15%. So out of a year.
Yeah, brutal. So what can we do about it? Of course, the GYMS Act, we're going to talk a little bit about that. Blair's going to lead the discussion on that here a little bit later. So I'll jump over that one too, just to have a quick reminder, everybody, about the FIT Act, the Personal Health Improvement Act, about using pre-tax dollars for all sorts of being active, belonging to clubs, using services, et cetera. We still need to stay behind that. And of course, finding ways to reach that other 80%. Then the other graphic that you see in the article is more about why Americans exercise at health clubs and gyms. A few things I wanted to point out here that I thought are really impactful for us. The first is, if you see the percentages there at the top, 46% of the respondents says just to be active. The next category, 35% for mental well-being. We've touched on that a lot. And then to lose weight was 32%. Those first two, particularly the first one, to just be active, I'm cautious, but I feel confident in saying a decade ago or 2 decades ago, that would not have even been on the list. People just wouldn't have used that wording. I just want to be active, right? Yeah. People came to clubs to look better and to lose weight, and that was the primary answer. And that's shifted now, not only to being active, but for mental well-being. And then
that sounds like a wonderful company, Active Wellness.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I have a hat that says that somewhere. It's a really good hat. And then here at the bottom, again, I won't go through all these numbers, but it's worth looking at. And it talks about the percentage of men and women that are returning to studios, and the percentage of men and women that are returning to clubs and gyms. And by and large, they're pretty even. They're returning at about the same rate. Men are leading that charge a little more directly, especially for facilities that are really strong in free weights, strength training, those types of activities. So just a really good media report. There's a lot of good information in there. You can get that at IHRSA.org. I think we're also going to try and place it in the chat for some of you if you missed it.
You get I get this, I have this hunch here that just to be active, like why, right? Like maybe that is mental wellness too, right? Maybe a huge, for the sake of being active, there's got to be a why behind that. I wonder if there isn't a large cohort there that with, a little deeper dig, you'd find out that, well, because I feel better mentally, it de-stresses me. Sure. That's why I like to be active.
I think sometimes you're not going out as much. You're just not out and about. And so there's this perception of movement, being out and about, being engaged, and people's activity level and participation of everything has gone down tremendously. And so, I think that's a huge deal, but Brent's right on target. Even before COVID, if you said, what's the number one reason people go to a health club, is to lose weight. Mm-hmm. And now that's number 3. That is a major pivot in our industry. And if you're not paying attention to that with your marketing, you're going to miss the opportunity for getting to that other 80%, much less the 10% that, the bottom 10% of the 20. So this is a different world and a different positioning for the product. And we got to pay attention and message accordingly.
Yeah,
Well,
this,
if we-
just be active. Also, just very quickly, Sarah, parallels, Bill, what you were saying in the report on trends about gentler workouts, right? I'm just there to be active. I'm just there to go through a gentler workout. Sorry, Sarah, go ahead.
No, no. And I was going to say, you know what? Maybe you guys, people want to be active. Okay. Maybe there's nothing deeper. And I look at that and I go, maybe they want to go back to the club. They're sick of being home. They want to go back. They want to exercise. I was reading about shortages, what are going on, and what's shopping, how people are shopping, and people now are going out, and 40% of them will switch their brand loyalty, 32% will go to another realtor, and only 13% will wait until their brand that they want is available and back in stock. So what that tells me is, if you're, poor Blair had to wait a whole year to get his club open. If you're open, start offering those classes, get them all planned for January, because people are going to come back and they don't have the loyalty they used to have.
Yeah, good point, Sarah. Okay, Bill, you've got some information that MindBody provided, another great partner of the industry.
Yeah, MindBody did the State of the Fitness Industry Report 2021, and it's there was a lot in there that corresponds with other research out there, research that IHRSA has done, research that ABC's done, research that MXM has done, and so one of the big themes of the report is bookings are recovering at a very, very high rate. And Sara mentioned that with her topic on in-person is up, right? MindBody has seen in their studios and clients' sites an increase in bookings. They categorize the top things that people are looking at. Cost and location, with location being number one. And then under that was cleanliness. Now, one of the ways that the report states to get members back is members are looking for lower cost. I caution against that right now. I think most of us should be going upstream in our pricing, not downstream, if not maintaining the value that we currently have. But when you're looking at per class fees and such, trial memberships, introductory offers, to get people back into the system and to try the facility is important. The biggest challenges, finding and keeping staff, and obviously getting more members. We all know this confirms, biggest opportunities, diversification, add wellness, nutrition, massage, physical therapy, meditation, personal training. We all know that it confirms those things, but if you're not looking at the wellness and the nutrition with registered dietitian aspects, you could be missing an opportunity. If you are recruiting registered dietitians, it's a good idea to make sure they're credentialed and registered with the carriers that are in your market. So you don't have to wait for that process of 9 months, 6 months for them to get approved by the carriers. And then the big thing that jumped out was, how do you like your instructor? And Sara preaches about this all the time.
I've never heard Sarah say a word about, play up your instructors and how important they are.
Brent, she doesn't say it a lot, but I think I heard it once or twice. But back to that same thing, like it's not about the equipment. It's not about Blair's smiling face at the front door. It's about the people they interact with delivering fitness for them. So, making sure that you go and hug and appreciate and recognize your team and that you invest in your fitness professionals. Because that's going to be, and we're all facing that challenge with staffing right now. All of this information pretty much corresponded with the same thing that ABC is finding. Blair, in his top three with Medallia surveys and Medallia's friendliness, cleanliness, and equipment condition. It corresponds beautifully with that as well. So, there's some stuff here, but everything's kind of consistent from the different voices in the industry with what's happening out there. So that's kind of a quick recap. It was very good research, and we appreciate MindBody putting that together.
Yeah, there was some at Club Industry. There was a wellness panel at Club Industry, and they were talking about, I should say, a mental health panel, not a wellness panel. They were talking about the group of people that are going to be looking for more activity, and this what we saw in the IHRSA report there. It was interesting. One of the first things they said is, what are some of the most important things that that clubs need to do? One was what we've talked about, incremental and more gentle. But she said, can you imagine how important it is now to be friendly and remember somebody's name when they walk in the door for this group? Much more important than the first 20% group. And then, Bill, I just want to ask one thing there. You said approved by the carriers. Just for clarity, you're saying some RDs, some registered dietitians, already have a relationship with insurance companies that they can bill with, and some don't have those relationships. Building a relationship is a bit of an arduous process if they don't come with that. Is that right?
Yeah. So if you, and it's something I learned from the Newtown Athletic Club group, is start recruiting our registered dietitians that already have a billable relationship with the carriers in your market, so you can avoid that lag time and get it going more quickly. Because the nutrition aspects of reimbursements on insurance is one of the easiest things to, maybe not the easiest, but one of the most simple things to get involved with right away for clubs.
Got it. Okay. Thank
Good
you.
advice, Bill. All right, Sarah, so talk us a little bit about training new employees.
Okay, great. We have, as usual, another video. So we'll start with that. Or maybe not. Well, like true confessions, I actually thought my company was kind of immune to this 55% of people are looking for new jobs. And I thought, oh, SCW, we have had people that have worked for us for 20 years, 15, 10, 8. And it's like the turnover in staff is just, it's scary. Now, I'm very fortunate. I'm not having a 45% turnover in my business, but I look at that and I have some turnover going, and you're going to find it. People, especially coming the new year, when they start thinking of New Year's resolutions and where they're going, nobody's immune to this. And what kind of sucks about this is you have to take your time when you're training people. You have to train them right. You have to select them correctly. You have to partner them with someone on your team that has a positive attitude, that likes working there, that knows all the customs and common sense stuff. And the thing that surprised me is when I read, you can't rely on common sense for people when they join your team. You think it's common sense, but it's like, I've owned this business 38 years. My staff, some of them have been there 20 years. It's these under things that they know all about your business. So it's hard hiring new people. Train them slowly, be considerate with them, and listen to them. These new people that come in, they really have some brilliant ideas because they're from the outside. They can observe things, and you can, yes, it's stressful and it's a strain on your business, and it's a drain on your time, but you can get some great feedback and some good ideas from them.
Sarah, I loved your list. Two things I want to add, or one thing I want to add and one reinforce. The add is demonstrate how much you care about the new employee as a person by getting to know them, not just their technical skills and their educational background, but who they are, what's going on, what are their interests after they're hired on the onboarding process. That means a lot to employees, more than most people know, and we don't take the time to do that I think, in our industry sometimes. And the last thing, and I know Blair will appreciate that, and that is really defining what customer experience looks like within your organization, within your environment, and within your culture, right? Because customer experience is different for different people given their backgrounds, particularly younger people sometimes. What they perceive to be great customer experience, we would think is rudimentary and, entry level. So you've really got to define that and coach it.
And I think it's really important to say very explicitly what great customer experience is and what horrible customer experience is. And if you juxtapose, and you can also go over what mediocre looks like, so people really understand it. And then, in every experience, you want to be up at this end of the scale. The one thing I would just is I think you can't, when it says common sense, I think you can't depend on people coming in and having tribal or tacit knowledge. Right? They don't know your organization, to your point, Sara, right? They don't know the culture. They don't know the organization. It's going to take some time. I think you want to hire people with common sense, let them learn about the culture. Then I think you can depend on it, but you can't depend on people coming in with that tacit knowledge of what happens.
Who was it? Frank Lloyd Wright. There's nothing common about common sense.
Yeah.
So Sara, you're going to say something, but when you're done, I want Brent, can you share what you used to do with your staff at Telos with the staying in the 5-star hotel deal?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sara.
No, Brent, go ahead.
Well, I just remember, we really pride ourselves on customer experience. Back when I owned my club, we were an early adopter, getting MXM, and we're doing a lot of prolific things. But in my presentation to the staff, at times I would say, we want to be the 5-star hotel of the health and fitness industry. That's the level of service we want, 5-star service. And then I had my fitness director, who was fabulous and did really well. And he had some clients that were wealthy that decided they were going to pay him to travel with them when they went on an overseas trip, so he could train them while he was with them. And he got to stay in a Ritz-Carlton. And he came back from that trip and he told me, Brent, you've been talking about 5-star service and the Ritz-Carlton level of experience. And he said, I had no clue what you were talking about. I've never stayed in 5-star anything. Now I have, and I got it. They knew my name in the hallway. They greeted me every single time. He rattled off all these things that he experienced. And so, again, just contextually, I thought it was great. Everybody knew what 5-star service was. He didn't. And that made a big impression on me.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and transition to the next one, which is one of mine about prehabbing. So we're all familiar with the concept of rehabbing after surgeries and so forth. Well, one of IHRSA's advisory council medical directors, Dr. Mark Panginuti, wrote an article recently about this very topic of prehabbing. He's an orthopedic surgeon, and he was just extolling in his article the benefits of working out pre-surgery, whether that's hip replacement, knee replacement, et cetera, even cancer and other types of illnesses that may be treated in the hospital or through surgery. And the fact that being active before you go in and have those surgeries really decreases the amount of recovery time. It decreases the amount typically of narcotics that you're going to be having to take. It decreases the pain that you experience after that. And then the outcome of those surgeries tends to be better for those that were more active actually before the surgery. And more interesting than even that, which all of us probably inherently knew was true, is that he aligned his practice with a local club in his market. And they developed a program where he would send his patients to them before the surgery. Of course, this was not reimbursed by insurance yet, but they would go for this prehabbing and meet with trainers and go through a program to develop the particular aspects of their fitness that might benefit them after they came out of surgery. And, I thought it was a great article. We always think about rehab. We've been talking about how can we get to that 80% that don't come to our clubs. And I think this is another great avenue. I can't tell you the number of friends. Again, I'll throw my family under the bus. My in-laws came to visit for Thanksgiving, and my son-in-law, my brother-in-law, daughter-in-law, and their daughter, all three have had knee surgeries. 2 of them have had knee replacements. And we were just talking about, the recovery of those and how beneficial it might have been had they been in much better shape before they had the surgery done. So good opportunity for clubs, a new service to offer, and something that really helps people.
Yeah, there's a huge opportunity in pre-surgical conditioning, and Brent, so you're right on track. I love this topic. If somebody's going to have heart or lung surgery, they've got to be in a certain condition before they can even go in for that surgery, or the outcomes are not positive. And in a lot of cases, they won't even do the surgery. So getting patients ready for not just orthopedic surgeries, but cardiorespiratory surgeries is a huge opportunity. And so this pre and post conditioning for surgical centers is an opportunity for us.
I wonder too, in the states that really had to hold off on those type of surgeries, there could be a lot of pent up demand, because I know in the state of Washington, Oregon, California, and in other states right now that are seeing some increase, they're really pushing back on the elective, they're calling them, but it's not like a facelift. The elective surgeries are the knee replacement. It's some of it's heart surgery, some of it's, and so I wonder if there's maybe some pent up demand for this in some of those states as well. Sara?
There has been, and I've actually done prehabbing on I've had several knee surgeries. I'm an idiot skier. And what was interesting is they had one licensed physical therapist in the facility that was adjacent, that was within a health club. But then they got some of the personal trainers to assist the patients as they were doing the exercises, which of course was supervised by the licensed physical therapist. So it was really interesting. I could go straight to the gym, do my prehab, get my surgery, go back to the gym, do my rehab, and then go out and get my membership. And they were really, I'm an instructor, so whatever, they knew I was going to stay there. But somebody didn't know who I was. How, I don't know, but they didn't know who I was. And they came up to me and said, you should think about joining the facility, because rehabbing is, you got to do that for the rest of your life. And I thought that was phenomenal. One-stop shop, everything, prehab, post-surgery, and then, my training for life.
Well, so back to Newtown Athletic Club, Kate Golden and her team, the Well Lounge is their meta spa, and they've got a doctor on staff. They're not only doing all the aesthetic stuff, but they're doing the registered dietitian stuff, and they're way ahead of the curve with regard to this whole topic of conditioning, working with the medical community, having a doc on staff, the registered dietitian process, so I learned a lot about how they're modeling this stuff from Kate and her team.
And PTs and doctors love this, because their doctors get to see a patient. What you guys educated me. What would you say, Bill? 10 minutes?
6 to 7 minutes is the average time a doctor spends with a patient.
Right. And with physical therapists, they want to train multiple people at a time. So they'll just tell you what to do and go away, and then tell somebody else and go away. And they've got 3 people training at the same time. So if you can integrate those personal trainers or your fitness professionals in there somehow, it's really a good way to keep them busy, and also a good way to generate some revenue.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly right.
All right.
Okay, Blair, the GYMS Act.
GYMS Act. Again, I'll just say how important I think this is for the entire industry. So the GYMS Act, as we have known it, was the vehicle that our industry needed to rally around in order to create the lobbying efforts that we did everywhere in order to get the 127 or 128 members of the House, 28 members of the Senate on board. We can still use that language, GYMS Act, but it's not really the GYMS Act anymore. So what's happened is it's been given to the Small Business Committee.
Right.
And I think there's maybe 25, 30 people on that committee. The Small Business Committee is coming up with a business relief funding package overall. We are in there as of right now. There's negotiations happening, and and we can be out of it, then we're back in it. It's looking very positive that we are in that the business relief fund that the Small Business Committee is putting forth. We are not part of the infrastructure bill. Turns out that's a very, very good thing. What we are, you think of it more like it's a line item now in the government's annual operating budget. That's important because that gets bipartisan support because both sides have a lot of things in there. They need to pass the operating budget. That operating budget got new life when it got extended through this coming Friday. Now they could vote again. The president could sign something and say, I'm gonna, we can't come to an agreement yet. I'm gonna extend it out there, but it's probably not gonna get extended much into January. So that operating budget's probably gonna get approved either pre-Christmas or sometime towards mid-January. So where before we'd say we're inside the 20, we're probably inside the 5-yard line. Don't know if we'll, get a field goal or a touchdown or, stopped at the 1 yet. But we have a pretty good offense. And I'll tell you, Jeff Perkins, Jake Landry, that whole team has been, they're just working nonstop on this right now. And Liz Clark, they're in the offices, they're making sure we're part of this conversation. Probably we $30 billion. It probably won't be, up to 20 million, 45% of 2019 revenue up to 20 million. It is called the Small Business Committee. And so, that's who got it. And as much as, there's been work to make sure everybody in the industry benefits, that's not necessarily how government thinks about it right now. So that's the state of the GIMS Act. It's looking more positive. We'll know more in the next probably few weeks.
Yep, it's out of our hands at this point.
Yeah, I did ask Jeff yesterday on our call. I said, so what can people do? Should they be contacted? He said, no, they might be coming up with another one-click campaign though. It is possible they are. If they do, we all need to be paying attention to that one-click campaign, because now it's just a case of making sure that that item is in the operating budget, and we do have a vehicle to be in there now. Yeah. So that's fabulous news for our industry right now.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I really think it's just brought attention to us being an essential service, which is great. I'm not quite sure we're going to get any money right now, but I think it bodes well for the future.
Right. Yeah, very good point, Sarah.
Yep, agreed.
Bill, are you prepared to give a little bit of wrap up for everyone as usual?
Yeah, I think everybody did a really thorough job, but I'll give a little short recap here. We started with Sara on technology. Be a fast learner, be the fastest learner in your market. Don't underestimate the importance of developers with regard to your tech stack and your product. Don't underestimate the importance of security with regard to your systems. And when you're looking at data, quality over quantity. Make sure that you've got the right quality of information to manage the business. I talked a little bit about Better Up and the trends in wellness. We shared that link. I think that's worthwhile for you to spend some time on. Blair took us into lawsuits, talking about the issues with Gymshark being sued by Sony over the synchronization issues. It's a good time to make sure you're compliant. I recommended you do a compliance audit on all the issues within your business. Sara brought us into online's down, in-person's up, and the importance of mental health. We spent some good amount of time on that. A lot of the research that MindBODY and ABC and MXM and IHRSA have shared all fit into that model with regard to the importance of live participation. When you're live with people, there's a chemical reaction. People need to be around other humans, even if they're not talking to each other at the same time. Brent took us into the IHRSA media report. 27 days of reserves is the average for small businesses. That's not even a full billing cycle for many clubs. That's kind of scary. So making sure that you properly plan your reserves and manage your business. Being active was number 1. Mental wellness was number 2, or mental health. Weight loss was number 3. That was an interesting switch in dynamic from years past. The FIT Act, Brent gave us an update on that with regard to the ability to use pre-tax dollars for fitness programs, recreation programs, and equipment, and so on. Important for our industry that would help us out. Then we went into the MindBODY research and shared some research information. That information is available as well in the notes. Sara took us into training staff, the importance of job descriptions, the importance of onboarding. If you want a 5-star experience, you've got to break it down and show people what a 5-star experience is. You can't assume that that common sense is common. You got to pretend common sense is uncommon, and you've got to make sure everybody understands. Take them back to the beginning. Prehabbing, Brent gave us a great overview of prehabbing, the importance of conditioning people prior to surgeries and medical procedures and getting people in shape. And then Blair brought us home with the GYMS Act. We still want our senators and Congress people to know that we want to keep this on the forefront, but IHRSA is not calling, I don't think at this point, for a mass email letter campaign. We've done that successfully. Now it's just keep the awareness with those that you talk to. It's in small business committee, and hopefully it'll be a line item. And this is a good thing for the industry. So thank you for everybody's support on this for the industry. Thank you, IHRSA, for your leadership here. And let's keep the conversation on how our industry is critical for making people's lives better. Blair, you want to jump in there?
I do, because I got to call out that Herb Lipsman also put a book in the chat from the founder of Ritz-Carlton, but I want to plug Herb's book called Caring. It's about managing hospitality. By hospitality, this is about some of the clubs that Herb has taken over and managed. I thought the book was fabulous. I've given it to every one of our managers to read. I'm going to be talking to Herb tomorrow on a webinar with this, an interview about some of the concepts in the book, because I think it's there it is right there. Thank you, Bill. Thank you. Yeah. And I think you get it at Amazon right now too.
So Brent, there's your recap. Guys, did I leave anything out?
No, well done as always, Bill. So we've got some questions coming in. Let's start with this first one. What are some resources you can share that will support the trends in industry growth, specifically helping people return to in-person workouts? Any resources you think are out there, or suggestions for her?
I mean, IHRSA's just launched. Brent had me and some other fine folks involved in one of the headlight committees working on best practices for operations. And, with the help of some folks, we put together some great resources that IHRSA is just now starting to share. They shared it in email format I think yesterday. So IHRSA has just a ton of resources, playbook information, this new playbook deal that I had the benefit of working on with the team. And so IHRSA's got a tremendous amount of resources on how to do some of this stuff. The Medical Fitness Association has resources. Sara's group, SCW, has resources. Reading the blogs from these association groups that are, like-minded, give you a lot of good ideas and a lot of good action items.
I think one of the easiest things to do to promote your facility on social media is videos of actual workouts that are going on. Now, of course, we just scared you to death about using music, but trying to show those workout videos and showing it not horizontally, showing it vertically, because that's what people are watching on their phones. They're still doing Facebook, they're still doing Instagram. I was really surprised to see that millennials are actually, they use Facebook 67% of the time, 57% of the time is YouTube, and 52% of the time is Instagram, because I really thought Instagram was exploding, but YouTube is also huge. But posting those little videos of the workout, putting in the chat, we'd love to see you come in, try a free class, something that you can get them into the facility. They want to see action.
I'll throw something else out there too, because Alexis was also asking about, does it change the approach to marketing in that? And Sarah, I think that's so spot on. We get so much play out of just short videos, and they're not necessarily of workouts. There's a few things that you should focus on in the research that our team did with Clearview, with IHRSA, on Reconnect. And the idea, and Alexis is spot on this question. She's saying with this new focus on mental, emotional well-being services, benefits at the forefront, does that change the approach to marketing? What Clearview is saying, yes, it absolutely should change your approach to marketing. Yes. As much as we say, you can prehab for surgery, as much as we say, exercise and you'll prevent cancer, you'll prevent heart disease, as much as we say that part of it's a silent whistle to that part of the population. They're not hearing that. What they hear there is, okay, you're asking me to do effort, 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 and some benefit is out beyond my cognitive horizon. What we found out in the Clearview research is that saying, you're 5 minutes of exercise away from a better mood, that the immediate return is emotional. And the emotion, and so there is on the IHRSA website, there's that reconnect video that isn't really intended to be member facing. It's intended to be more facing to the industry to kind of frame up that messaging. I think that's really important. I think there's a couple other things that come out of some other research. Marketing rebellion and talking about using social media. There's 3 things that we're trying to do with our videos. Make it hyper-local, hyper-local. And I say hyper-local, it's not just Wenatchee, Washington. It's going to be Max, the trainer. I've been here 2 years. I came in during the pandemic. I train 11 kids. 3 of them are from this elementary school and 3 are from this. That type of messaging, hyper-local. Reconnect, make sure we're talking about reconnecting with whatever, your youth, your happiness, your joy, however you use that language. And then the next one is humanize it. You really, as Mark Schaefer says in that book, the most human company wins. The more details they know about the name of the trainer's dog and the favorite wine and music makes an emotional connection. That can be more, that can be far more important than what certifications the person has to the person listening.
And you've got to watch your Yelp reviews. You've got to watch your reviews that are out there, because you can control the reviews that are on your site. Literally over Black Friday or Cyber Monday, I was looking at a sale on something and I went back to look at a top that I wanted to buy. And the review they'd removed all the bad reviews and only had the good review on there. And I was like, oh my gosh, because I remembered it from the previous day. You can control your reviews on your own site. Watch them, respond to them. Don't just hide them and take them off. Do respond to them, either privately if you don't want to do so publicly. But watch your Yelp reviews. People are researching now. They're doing that omni-channel review of what's going on, what facility they should join, where they should go to exercise, where they're going to feel comfortable. They're reading them. And if you see a bunch that maybe aren't good, respond to them, meaning, clean your floor or talk to one of your staff that maybe was not nice to somebody. But then also, it's terrible, but get one of your friends to put in a good review for you.
There's some markets aren't that big on Yelp. Google's everywhere, so not just Yelp, but also your Google reviews.
Yeah, you'll get a lot more. You'll get a lot of Google reviews.
Hey, let me give you another question. You got something else you want to share though, Blair?
I was just to say the advice I have on your reviews is to just behave like a company that gets 5-star reviews, and then you'll get 5-star reviews.
Okay, good. That's good. Good. So this class question is in regards to the trends, of which we talked quite a bit about trends today. If I can only kind of pull out 1 or 2 to focus on, what might the group recommend? Bill, you did the trends intro. Why don't you take it first?
Yeah, I would say, a lifestyle wellness program, just a general, gentle workout program that can help anybody, regardless of where they are on the continuum of fitness and health, supervised. And then, look at the registered dietitian stuff. You can't boil the ocean. You need to pick a couple of things that you can focus on. If you have CapEx dollars, the equipment that's staffless, touchless equipment, the hydro stuff, and, a lot of those can have enhanced membership revenue opportunities. So you got to triage, what your goals are. But pick a few things to do really well versus a bunch of things to do mediocre or poorly.
Okay. Blair, you want to weigh in on that one?
I totally agree with that. And when you're thinking about like that wellness space and kind of, you don't have to do everything that Newtown does or Saco Sport and Fitness. Guy Gillespie does a brilliant job with his dietitian program and that. You can just start with just what fits your brand. Maybe it's, percussion therapy, Theragun, and shorter classes and milder classes. That can be just the first phase for almost probably any club can play in the space by just kind of entering at that level and offering something, because that's probably going to hit on a vast majority of that new customer.
Yep. All right, Sarah.
Brent,
I also see that people love body parts. I know that sounds kind of strange, but they do. They love a better booty workout, all about abs. We know it's the core. We know the back and the abs go together, and throw the butt in for good measure. But they love body parts, and I mentioned before strength training. So if you could do strength training for women, or returning to strength, which might be a focus on an active ager. Think about programs that they couldn't do at home. The other programs that tend to be really big are cycle programs. I know we talked about Peloton, but people want to come into the club and do those. So I think any type of group fitness program and small group is also successful, because you don't feel like, oh my gosh, there's going to be 30 people in here. Nah, there's going to be 8. It'll be controlled. And maybe that's a safer way to reemerge.
Right.
Yeah, I think tangential to what all of you said, I think is just really paying attention to that customer experience when people come in. Blair made the comment earlier that more than ever, people that are coming in for mental wellness, and that's one of the top motivating factors. The trends from the IHRSA media report, that was the second reason they came, was for their mental well-being. Knowing somebody's name, making sure they're comfortable, getting them to be part of the community of the club. That's always been important. It's probably more important now than ever.
Great. Yep.
hey, Brent,
Yeah.
there was a question about pricing that I think we should address if we get a chance.
Okay. I don't see it right here. Bill, do you see it? Go ahead and read it off.
It's in the chat from Leslie Milne. Just wondering if cost comes up as being one of the top considerations when thinking about joining a gym, why the panel, or at least some members of the panel, believe costs should not go down, or at minimum stay the same.
Yeah, so that was something I spoke to. Most consumers are going to throw cost in there as if you ask them the question, they're going to throw cost in as a response. There may be cases where your facility, your studio, your club, your gym might strategically benefit from lowering your price. But what I want to caution against is doing it reactionary. I've seen too many clubs lower their price and not have enough new buyers in the market to be able to make it up in volume and have an optimized profit. So, if you're going to change your pricing strategy, you got to do a likely joiner analysis, a competitive analysis. You got to understand where you fit in the marketplace, and what the net impact will be based on the volume, supply and demand curve, basically, basic economics. So I just don't think in times of crisis, it's a good time to overreact by dropping your price out of desperation, because you can't undo that easily. So most of the businesses that I looked at, the value proposition is better than it was before COVID, and it's worth more than it was, and the consumer actually values it more. And so now's, to me, now's not an ideal time to react unless you've really done the homework and the analysis. So that's where I was going with the pricing conversation.
And do you guys think there might be an opportunity to lower the risk without lowering the price? A lot of times when people say price, it's a proxy for I don't want to be at too much risk here. I'm not sure what the product is like, and I don't want to be at risk. There might be an opportunity to, I'm going to just riff here for a minute and make something up like, a lot of software companies do, right? They'll do, it's free for the first month. It's no down payment. It's free for the first month. And then it's whatever your full dues are. But there might be a kind of a freemium that you put out there that can reduce the risk without really long-term reducing the cost. There might be some opportunities like that.
I read an article on that, on reducing the down payment, but not the recurring line of revenue, the monthly revenue stream. And that made a lot of sense to me. I do. You know me, I think value is really important. And I read my research on what's going on this holiday season. People are buying earlier because they're worried about these shortages that are coming up. So they're buying earlier. 40% of them are looking at value, 34% are looking at convenience, and 31% are looking at availability. And I think that's interesting. I know, does shopping relate to finding a club you're going to go to weekly? I'm not quite sure, but I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah, and we'd be remiss if we didn't mention how great Sara looks in that scarf that she probably shot for, and also how great Hugh, oh, not Hugh, I mean Brent looks in that.
You're just jealous, King Kong. You're just
Yeah,
jealous.
thank you. I get lots of compliments on this jacket, as I was sharing before, Blair. Maybe I'm running with the wrong crowd, though. I don't know.
It looks great.
So about the pricing, 2 points I wanted to make to follow up and add to what Bill was saying is, one, what a lot of clubs, as all of you on the panel know, are doing is they're going to a tiered membership option. And that's a way, if you want to have a little bit more of a price sensitive market, you can have this tiered system and, you know, offer something at the lower end that might be a little more affordable for a certain segment of your population. That's one comment. And then secondly, I just finished this last few weeks meeting with all the roundtables that I lead, and on every one of them, one discussion was, are you increasing prices? Are you increasing dues? And the resounding answer for probably 70% of them was yes. Going into the new year, we're either increasing dues incrementally or increasing the pricing on many of the services. And some of the thought behind that is, of course, many of them are in the routine of doing it on an annual basis anyway. Others are seeing this as an opportunity that the price has been increasing on, you name it. So the customer is very sort of subconsciously tolerant, and I believe that's probably right about price increases, given the wage increase, the cost of living, the cost of gas, the cost of goods, everything else. And so the customer is seeing that across the board for themselves, and clubs are seizing that as an opportunity to increase their price as well, as long, of course, as the value is still there.
Excellent points, Brent.
Yeah. All right, well, we are at the end of our time today. I just want to thank everyone again, my panelists again, for not just this session, but the whole year. Blair, Bill, and Sara all donate their time, volunteer their time to be on these shows. And we're hoping sincerely that it helps all of you run your business better, that we're keeping you up to speed on some of the latest hot topics, giving you some ideas that you can run with. We really do appreciate your loyalty. And that's one of the reasons collectively we decided we got to keep going into 2022. We're continuing to get a good response, not only people joining us live, but there's a growing number that don't take the time to watch it exactly when it's live, but they'll watch the recording, you know, on their own time, and they feel it's very beneficial. So we so much appreciate all of you tuning in. We wish you all a great holiday season coming up for the remainder of this year, and hope you and your families are well. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next year in the new year.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.